Guys, we are live. Nikita, you can start.
Yes. Okay. So, hello everyone. Good morning. I am Nikita Pura,
And I'm Simran Patel.
and we are the students of Dr. Banuben Nanavati College of Pharmacy and the council members of the Public Health Office. Our committee, Public Health Office, aims to spread awareness about the various aspects of emotional, physical, and mental health among the general public. So, today we are here for this live session, which is a part of our camp From Life to Life. In this camp, we are discussing about motherhood and childhood. And today, in the live, we will be discussing about the various conditions that people are born with. And for this, we have with us two phenomenal guests, Dwanipa Halajani and Sir Sai Prasad Vishwanathan. I hope this session turns out to be a really informative session and a learning for our audiences. Over to you, Simran.
Hello, I'm Simran Patel, the co host for today, and I'm so honored to introduce our guest for the day. So, the first guest is Dhwani Pahlajani. She is a fashion designer born and brought up in Dubai. She's had vitiligo for over 20 years now and has completely embraced it, having designed her thesis collection around her skin and beauty in art of nature. She's done various shoots and illustrations regarding vitiligo. Thank you so much, Dhwani, for being here with us. It's an honor. Uh,
Thank
the
you,
ne-
Priya.
Next, I would like to introduce Mr. Sai Prasad Vishwanathan through a very constricted introduction from his 2000 word achievement portfolio, where he mentions he's from the University of Wisconsin, a research scholar, MS in computer science, and MBA from ISB. He was the first Asian with a disability to set foot on the Antarctic continent. Featuring in Satyameva Jayate, the celebrated TV show, he had an opportunity to raise concern over our country's infrastructural disability. He's a recipient of multiple awards, one of them being the Helen Keller Role Model Person of the Year Award 2010. He's involved in lots of social activity by providing financial fund to the needed. Disclaimer, this is just a very small part of all the great things he's done. Thank you so much, Mr. Sai Prasad, to be here with us.
Thank you, Simran. I really appreciate that introduction. Thank you.
So we'll begin with the round of questions. My first question is
Good.
for Dhwani. Dhwani, like what is the science behind vitiligo and how and why does it occur? Like brief us about it. Like give us an introduction.
So, vitiligo is an autoimmune condition in which the skin loses the skin loses color in parts of your body. That is called melanin. It begins in a few places and it slowly starts to spread. So, what I have is something called bilateral vitiligo, where it actually appears on the sides of my body, like it's almost symmetrical, which I think is really fascinating because it's almost like its own form of art. And so people are not born with it. It actually happens like at any point in time.
Oh, that was a new piece of information from me. Thank you so much. Nikita, you can take up the next question.
Yes. My next question is for Sai Prasad, sir. Sir, can you tell us a little about yourself, like your journey?
Sure. Well, basically in the 1980s, a couple fell in love in the south of India and Tamil Nadu. After they got married, basically, I happened. And when I was born with this disability, basically, it was this extra growth in spinal cord. So nobody can ever tell me grow a spine. I was born with an extra one. So effectively, people thought, it was because of bad karma. And a lot of people started harassing my parents, saying, because you had married against your parents' wishes, you were born with this guy who has this disability. As luck would have it, or probably my parents' sense of humor involves, they decided to name me Prasad, which means a gift or a blessing. I don't know what sort of mood were they in, especially given the disability that I had. So when I was born with this disability, on the 13th day, there needed to be an operation to remove the spinal cord, but a particular fragment of the bone in the spinal cord, and the doctor didn't do his job well, and consequently, I lost sensation in the lower half of my body. I cannot feel heat, touch, cold, or anything in the lower half, and the upper half of my body it is progressively less. Therefore, the seasons don't really matter to me. And when you heard that I went to Antarctica, basically, and then people ask if it was cold, that's probably the worst question that I ever get asked because one, it's definitely cold. Two, I can't feel it, and just to move forward, my parents decided they will move out of the state in Tamil Nadu, and as a government employee, my dad put in a request for transfer, and we came down to Hyderabad, and that's where the story begins.
So add-on question. So like when you interact with different people, so how do you like the people? Like they accept you being specially able, or you prefer them ignoring it?
I think, there comes a point in life where you stop accepting or stop, expecting acceptance because effectively it starts in school where you want to be part of a cricket team or a sports team. You get rejected there. Then you want to get into the school first because effectively, you at least hope that education will take you forward, but the principals wouldn't accept you. And when it comes down to college, effectively, you would have to climb 3 floors to even get into the classroom, and you will hope that the principal will pull down the classes for you. But there comes a point where you learn to expect that things are not going to work out for you, and that's the first default move. And the day you accept that you are not going to go ahead and be treated normally ever, things become much more easier. Because now I am surprised if people accept me right away. I'm like, what is the problem here? Like, why is this person not discriminating? Or like, you enjoy the discrimination at the end of the day because you are more or less different, so to begin with. So for instance, imagine I'm going into an airport, and I know that there needs to be a wheelchair for me to get into the airport. There is going to be that struggle period for about 10 to 15 minutes. But if someone is already there with the wheelchair, and then I'm shocked as to why is this person nice. So I think I have stopped expecting people to accept me. In fact, if they accept me, then I tend to reject those people because there's something wrong up there, and they aren't seeing me for who I am truly, which includes the part that there are limitations to what I can and cannot do. And I think I made my peace with the fact that there are certain things I can't do in life, and people are always going to look up to that, and that defines who they are. That also partly defines who I am. But my happiness is not, of course, driven by that perspective, so to speak.
Right, sir. So that was a great answer, and you being a great sport.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
impressive, sir. Over to you, Sunil.
Yeah. So my next question is for Dhwani. Like, are there any specific precautions that you need to take considering this condition?
Yeah, so vitiligo can spread for a lot of reasons. The main one being stress, and I've seen that happen with me. Like whenever I'm like extremely stressed, I went through like a period in my life where I went through an insane amount of stress, and I saw my skin change. It's funny though, because like the vitiligo will also kind of change. So like I have new spots, but like there have also been spots that have gone away, which I think is if I stress less, that goes away. Um, yeah, precautions, I would say sun is a big factor. When I was little, I actually got sunburnt at the age of around 9 or 10. So I've had vitiligo from the age of 5 or 6. And when I was 9 or 10, it actually increased quite a bit because I was like really badly sunburnt. So you need to put like SPF constantly and make sure you're taking care of yourself. That's pretty much it, just stress and taking care of yourself.
Oh, thank you so much for answering that. Over to you, Nikita.
Yes, sir. So my next question is towards you. So with respect to media, so like we see media addressing especially abled people in a way. And so is there anything that you would like the media to change in that?
Well, calling a person with disability as someone who's differently abled or specially abled is like, or physically challenged, so to speak. That's like calling a single person romantically challenged or differently romantic. I mean, like, I just don't know why the people have to invent new terms. My parents gave me a name, like I said, and media can call me by name. I have a name at the end of the day. But I do get it. Like, first up, there is stigma associated around the person. Then, first, the stigma in itself is created by people. Then they kind of make a workaround on how that stigma shouldn't be there and invent polite, meaningless terms that have no impact on my life. For instance, like I said, when I was in college and I had to climb up 3 floors to get to the class, calling me differently abled will not take me to the third floor. Simple. Like, I don't get a superpower by going ahead and, like, you know being addressed as differently abled, or like the prime minister also once said, you have divine organs, or divyang, or whatever it is. I think these are terms that people use and feel comfortable in using them to make them feel good. But I just don't, it just doesn't make a difference, because for me, at the end of the day, uh, easing out the barriers to work, or easing out the barriers to life, is much, much more important than getting the politically correct term right. Effectively, it just never made sense to me that people would call me differently able. I'm like, I still can't walk, end of story. So what would I like to be addressed as? Well, I have a name. You can always call me Sai, with the extra hair on his head, or pick up some positives otherwise also. If that is the one, if the wheelchair or the disability is the one thing that is obvious to your eye, well, look a little deeper and you will probably find more to describe me.
That was a beautiful
Very true,
answer.
sir.
Thank you so much.
Exactly.
Uh, so, uh, so Donny, considering the judgmental society we live in, there are always going to be people who are going to see vitiligo as not a condition but like a disease. So they're trying to cure some people. So, like, are there any weird cures that you have been suggested by people, and what are those?
So many. Honestly, there's like Sai just said, there is such a stigma around being different that it honestly sometimes makes you sick. Like I've had situations where people would be like, "Oh, this is a disease." It's actually not a disease. It is a condition. It's an autoimmune condition, which people need to start like that shift needs to happen in the way people speak about it. And like he said, like around you, people are so concerned about being politically correct that now, like when I was younger, people would look at me and be like, "Oh, um, like you look different, and why is that?" And now I don't get asked that question. I think because it's more normal to look different. But like through the years, I've had people come up to me, especially in India, like random people on the street, because I lived there for a few years, would come up to me and say, "Oh, try this oil with this flour, and like, put it on your skin for so many hours and it's gonna go." And I know it's a scam. I know it's a scam. You know it's a scam. We both know this is a lie. So why are you even bothering with it? And there's so many myths about vitiligo in general, especially back in the day when I had it. It was not very common. Like you wouldn't see a lot of people with this condition. So I've had doctors, like well-educated doctors, come up to my parents and say, "Oh, it's because she might have had fish and dairy." No, because I'm a vegetarian. I have never consumed fish my entire life, so that's not possible. Or they'll say things like, "You shouldn't pair anything that's sour, so like no oranges, no strawberries with dairy." But that actually doesn't make sense, because people will consume, like, if you go out, you're gonna have like a lemon cheesecake, and that's lemon and dairy. Or like even paneer is curdled milk with acid or citric acid. So there's so many myths about vitiligo, and people wanting to find a cure for it, find a reason to trace back to, which actually honestly don't exist. It's purely just stress or trauma, and it's your body actually fighting your skin cells and kind of like killing your own skin cells. That's why it's autoimmune. But yeah, I've had the most like ridiculous cures. In fact, I actually have been to so many doctors who've actually cheated us, because my parents obviously tried everything because they didn't know what it was. um, we went to some doctor for Ayurvedic medicine, and he gave me like steroids, which actually completely messed my skin up because it went away for a bit and then it came back much worse. I've tried homeopathy also with steroids and made it worse. I've been asked to consume all types of herbs, like stuff that tastes really, really bad. And I'm okay doing it if there's a cure for it. But if there's no cure for it, why am I trying so hard to fix myself when I'm very honestly happy being the way I am, you know? And there have been so many things that people would like even doctors would say things like, oh, try this like topical cream with steroids, which again is technically a lie because vitiligo it can't be cured from the outside. It needs to be cured from the inside, you know. So these things don't work, but it's more like a money making scheme, which is really sad because like if you know there's no cure for it, then don't suggest it, you know, like don't waste your time, don't waste my time. But there is more acceptance now, and I'm glad that people now who have this condition will not have to face what I went through as a child.
I just hate the fact that the society has normalized beauty. Like there shouldn't be any beauty standards around us. Like
I completely
it's,
agree.
it's
Like, what is the term normalized
I
beauty
agree.
anyway? I feel like if you're beautiful
Exactly.
however you know. Like, you don't need to normalize anything.
And every
But
person
that's,
is beautiful. Right.
I agree. I completely agree.
Nikita, over to you.
Yeah, yes. So my next question is towards you, sir. Sir, because of being specially able, has there been any moment in life where you could not enjoy completely, or you like felt different? Like, could you share any experience with us?
Well, one of the toughest questions that any person would have to answer for himself or herself is why did it happen to me? The saddest part of being a person with disability is why me? You make your search for the answer a lot of times, especially when you're alone. And to know that you're never going to find an answer for that question is probably the toughest thing to accept and make peace with, because even if I were to find an answer saying back in the 80s so and so event happened which led to my mom getting stressed or something of that sort, and then I getting affected and so on and so forth. When I like when he said there are too many homeopathic doctors who would just come down and ask, saying, well, there should have been one moment of stress to your mom. Her in-laws wouldn't have treated her well. That is why this happened to you and all that. I really don't care at this point. Maybe when I was 14 or 15, just out of curiosity, I would have wanted to know. And on odd days when you are missing things in life that you could have had if you were normal, you would have been like, or you would be like, why me? But I think there comes a phase in life, and that's the most beautiful part, that you find peace because you're tired of searching for answers. I think what happens when you try to get into a school and the school doesn't accept you, or you get into a college and you can't really complete your education properly, or you want to go abroad and all your relatives tell you that if you can't even take a bus here, how are you going to survive abroad? Or you kind of get into a business school and friends around think you just got in there because of your diversity quota, or you kind of crack a top job in consulting and people would be like, hey, you just got it because the HR sympathized with you. I think there comes a point where you just don't care and you have made peace with who you are. So first thing, I think the most difficult moment for me has been to ask, why did this happen to me? And the most beautiful part of my life, if I could go ahead and tell, is that I somehow made peace with the thought that there can be no answer for it. And that's true of every person too. Each person has their question to answer, and some questions don't have answers. And I'm happy that I can confidently tell out in a video today that I'm okay and I'm peaceful with the fact that I do not know why it happened to me. Two, this on a lighter note, people are never jealous of you. I mean, it's considered an inspiration if I wake up in the morning and like, get to work. People will be like, hey, that's inspiring. I'm like, people are never ever jealous of you, which is kind of strange because, I think during my college days and otherwise also, if I get a job, people genuinely congratulate. Otherwise, people are jealous that this person has gotten and so on and so forth. I miss the jealousy aspect. saying, nobody is jealous of the fact that I have succeeded and so on and so forth. Another thing is those odd remarks. I would go on my electric wheelchair and people would nickname it Ferrari. I'm like, if I wish it was a Ferrari first, like, it would have been a different life altogether. But on a good day, I take it lighter. On a bad day, might not be the best of things to tell me. So yeah, it depends, but there are going to be a lot of challenges, but the core piece within you to deal with those challenges comes from the point that you're never going to find answers to some questions, and not having an answer is okay. You don't need to have answer for everything. In the only life that I have got, these are the parameters that I need to operate on, and I'm okay with that. I wish it was different, but then most people often wish it is different, and I'm happy for who I am, as simple as that. Sure.
Right, so perfectly right. Actually, at the end of the day, even us, we're just striving for that peace at the end of the day. So that's it. You're perfectly right. Over to you, Simon.
Yeah. So, 20, a bit scientific question here, but can vitiligo be genetic?
Well, that's something I'm not so sure about. They say vitiligo runs in your family, or they say that it could be genetic, but quite honestly, like my family has gone back to like my grandparents and their grandparents and their grandparents, but no one in my family has vitiligo. Um, I'm the first one to have it on both sides, and I'm honestly quite like grateful that I was the chosen one to have it. They say that there is, I think there's a 1 or 2% chance that if you have vitiligo, your kids could have it, but that's very, very, very slim from what I know.
Thank you so much for answering that. Nikita, you can take up the next question.
Yes. Sir, I would like to ask, like, if there's someone like a random stranger in the public who comes up to help you, so do you like them asking you to help you? And if yes, then what is the right way to do it?
Uh, really depends, right? You know, so like I said, when I was studying at ISB, I was on this electric wheelchair, and that wheelchair would probably be one of the fastest wheelchairs that you can ever sit on and operate. So when my friends would say I would get coffee for you because you can't, honestly speaking, I would be the one who can drive fastest and get the coffee for you better. So I think, it would be arrogant of me to judge those people and say, hey, you know what, you're offering help where I don't need it. But let me give you another example of the same thing. So I was stuck on the same wheelchair, at a very snowy place in Wisconsin, and I was absolutely stuck, and I was almost in tears because the population density of that place is very low, and I really didn't know if I would even able to make it home that day. And then I saw this Chinese person, and I asked him for help, and he just didn't offer help. He went to his home, and in those 5 minutes I was so angry at how humanity can be on the planet. But 5 minutes later, the same guy came down with a spade, and he removed the snow in front of me, so that the wheelchair could pass through. And he said, because I removed the snow, tomorrow when you come down, then you wouldn't need me. So that was the first time I realized that not all helpful solutions are, mere helps. Some can be systemic. In other words, if someone is offering you help to get onto a bus by, lifting you, or someone is lifting you and putting you into an exam room, just imagine the state of mind I am in before I write the exam. Three people would carry me, and like effectively I had to sit, and like you feel as if you are the weight to the whole world, and like two chapters that you studied for the exam, you would forget in the stress that you are there at that point. But if only someone kind of had an elevator to get me there, and were a little more sensitive towards putting me in an environment where my emotions don't get affected, then I too can go ahead and offer a better world. Simply put, well, I would not stop people from asking me if I should be helped, but I think I will work on myself to not get offended when people ask it. It's okay. You never know when the help is needed. And maybe I am too egoistic to ask for help, but there could be a day or there could be someone else who needs that help and is too shy to ask. So it would be extremely wrong and judgmental of me to tell that no, I have got to be independent, and it's wrong of people to ask, come and ask me for help. If you're a person with disability, I would say let people ask. It's okay, and learn to manage your emotions that you have been the target of their help. And once the help is received, please find a way to go ahead and give it back. You can give it back in your own way, and that's completely okay. It's not necessary to make it awkward every time for everyone just because your self-respect needs to be right in your image. I just don't believe in that nonsense anymore.
All right, so really nice. Like humanity should be there and for right reasons and in the right situations. Perfect, sir. Over to you, Cindy.
So Dhwani, did you ever feel that you're like being judged by the society, and like how do we go about like redefining the beauty standards, and lots of questions, but and what small changes you want the society to implement?
So, well, very honestly, I've been judged way too many times. I've had situations where, like, even as a child, I've had people in my school ask me, why do you look different? And at that point, I didn't have an answer to that because I was like 6 years old, or maybe 7 or 8 years old. And like, how am I supposed to explain to you that I don't know what's on my skin, but it's there? You know, I've had so many instances where, even like honestly till today, and very, like, I don't mean to be rude or whatever, but especially in India, when I'd walk through the mall, I've had people stare at me, like look at me, look away, and look back and stare. And then I'm just like, why are you looking at me? Like, do you really need, like, what is so different about me that you cannot like take in at your first glance? um and it's funny because that changes with different regions, right? So even in Dubai growing up, there's some people who will, or there's some communities that will look at you and look again. And then when I'm in the US, or if I'm in like a more open part of the world, they probably won't do that. But like, it's so strange. Like, I've had, well, not my own friends and family, but like just people who my parents know, like aunts and uncles, or like distant relatives or whatever. And they would be like, oh, beta, I wish at least your face was one skin, like one skin tone. And I can be quite rude and upfront and say, listen, I don't care about your opinion. But at that moment, I don't even feel like you deserve a response. I just say, yeah, okay. And I would walk away, right? Because if I even engage in conversation with you, I feel like it's a waste of my time. And very honestly, like, if you can't have an intellectual conversation with someone, it's just pointless, right? I feel like it is really, really important for parents, for aunts, uncles, whoever, right? Because I have a niece and a nephew. So because they've seen me with this condition, tomorrow, if their friend in school or like someone else, their teacher or someone has it, for them it's normal, right? Because they know that their aunt looks different, and it's okay to look like that. Like, it's really sweet because my niece will be like, oh, I wish I looked like you, like, I wish I had your skin, it's so beautiful. And then you realize that like, people can be sweet and polite and look at you and think you're beautiful, but they choose not to. They choose to say, oh, this is normal and this is not normal, so because you don't look normal, I'm going to judge you, or I'm going to treat you differently. That's something that I don't like. I also don't like when, and I've been approached by a lot of brands recently, because there's this whole thing about embracing yourself and accepting who you are, and I really appreciate that. But there have been brands that would use that in, like, to monetize, right? So they'll be like, oh, we want to have you in our campaign because we're embracing beauty. Are you really embracing beauty, or are you doing it to make money? And that's why, like, I feel like when people look at me with sympathy, it honestly winds me up, because I'm like, you don't need to do that. Like, I'm very grateful for the way I look. I'm blessed. And I have people who love me no matter how much my skin will increase, like the white part will increase or decrease, for that matter. And I think as individuals in this day and age, we need to be really mindful of how we look at other people. Quite honestly, like, I also judge people, very honestly. If I said I didn't judge someone, I would be lying. I feel like everyone does. But it's very important to understand that you are not better than anyone else, right? Just because someone else is like if someone else looks different or is behaving a certain way, it doesn't mean they are beneath you. And I think it's important to educate children to include, like, even like storybooks, for example, like children's storybooks should include characters or stories that are a little more inclusive, so kids are brought up in a society where it's normal to be in like unique. And yeah, honestly, very honestly, you just have to embrace who you are and just let people see that you're confident, and it's going to change.
Yeah,
Right. This
I
is
would like to
very true.
pinpoint the fact that there are always going to be brands who are trying to like promote things and then like make money out of it, and that's really bad.
Yeah.
So, like, over to you, Nikita.
Yes. So my next question is towards you. So, like, through the different phases of life, like childhood, teenage days, or maybe your higher education days. So, who has been your support system?
Well, effectively, the default answer is parents. But then you also have to look a little beyond and see, in the absence of parents, what keeps you going. I think one of the greatest gifts that I've gotten from life itself has been the love for music, the love for reading. Given that I can't really move out a lot, I would thank the teacher who gave me the first copy of Malgudi Days, and I read, and like I empathized with that character, and I'm like, oh nice. And then I started reading, and like I absolutely could live multiple lives because I could read multiple novels. And these days I get irritated if someone kind of comes to me and talks when I'm reading, because effectively, you're pulling me out of the comfort zone. I think reading helped me see various characters to utmost depth. And at one point I was going crazy as to whether, you know as the imaginations that I would have, is that the reality of my life, or is the life that I am living the reality? Another example would be music. I think it kind of helped me calm down and like express or even learn to feel emotions that I would otherwise not feel. In terms of people, the simple actions, I mean, for 4 years into 365 days, there was my friend who would carry my bag into the classroom without even me asking it. And that's 1200 times to 2400 times doing it. And, most importantly, not making me feel awkward about it. I mean, that kind of, is something that I was gifted or blessed with. So, what helped me the most? I think uh, actually, feeding off from Simran's question, uh, yes, people do judge, but there are also people who judge the positive things. I think it is inevitable that a human being is going to judge another person, but someone who can judge and see through your positive and weigh it higher than the negative, and use that judgment to drive their actions with empathy and kindness, are going to be really special in your life, because one, you are now afraid that you don't want to lose such people in your life, and two, you are going to have those little memories from them, that you're going to cherish all life and feed off that energy, because in moments of self-doubt, you know that there are good people as well, and that will kind of keep you going. And if everything else failed in my life, I always had a book and a music to go to. So that kind of helped.
Very rightly said, sir.
Yeah.
So,
So this is the last question. It's directed to both of you. Like, what any words of wisdom you would like to give to the audience right now at this moment? Anything. It's anything.
Sai, you can go
Well,
first.
uh, well, the words of wisdom that I would say is, not all words that come from other people about you is wise. So treat it with care, and there is a limit to there is a limit where you allow others to affect your emotion. It is inevitable, of course. You want to be selflessly loved and appreciated, admired, and celebrated for who you are. But the world is not going to do that. And one of the best pieces of information that I got in life is that you are in no person's mind for more than 5 minutes, except outside your family. No person thinks about you for more than 5 minutes. I mean, like, I don't think about others for more than 5 minutes. And effectively, to kind of try to live in a world where we constantly think about what others are thinking about us. The truth is, they are not thinking. Everybody's self-obsessed, and that was highly liberating to me. And so the simple line is, when others make you feel bad, it is part and parcel of life. And you can often wonder why you are misunderstood, why an opportunity is not given, why did it happen to you, and all that. The simplest thing is, sometimes things just happen and there are no answers to it. And the time ahead is going to be beautiful and is going to be providing you with the greatest of opportunities to meet the most kind of people. And if you can look forward to that kindness, then there are a lot more reasons for you to be happy than otherwise.
Yeah, I agree. Quite honestly, like Sai just said, right? There are people in your life that will uplift you. And I've had that. Like, I've had the most supportive family, the most supportive friends. They've never questioned how I looked. And whenever I was in doubt as a child growing up, my mom was literally my support system. Like, she'd be like, it's good that you look different because no one's ever going to forget you. And that's so true, right? Because people actually look at me and will remember my face 10 years later because they know that this is the one person we saw who looked different. And it's so important to realize that while you may be different, you should also embrace the fact that you are unique and there is something so beautiful in that, right? It's, if you look at the positives, you are that one person who was chosen to be a certain way, right? You may have something not going for you in the sense that you have a disability or you look different or whatever, but there's so much more in life that is going for you, that I'm sure, like, there's so many more positives in life than just that one thing. And if you can spin the story around to yourself and be grateful for everything that you have, it honestly, life is a lot more beautiful. I've had instances where literally my friends will tell me, like, oh my God, you look stunning. And I'm like, what? No, like, what are you talking about? But you have those people around you. So it's important to remember that no matter where you go, you will have a few difficulties in life. That's inevitable, whether you have a condition or not. But you need to remember that there honestly is so much more than the way you look or the way your body will function, right? Like Sai just said, he was able to read books and music, and that is just so. I'm sure he's so skilled and talented now because he had all those years and that time to do that. And likewise, like, whenever I've had like a moment where I'm frustrated, or and not just because of my skin, but in general, like, I would look to art and design, and I feel like that is literally my strength now. Like, my work is what has got me this far, and I feel like if I didn't look different, I probably wouldn't even very honestly bother. But I think it's subconsciously, I've been told this as well, that I'm a fashion designer because I want to make that change. I never actually saw that. But when people tell me now that, look, you actually designed a whole collection based on your skin, and I'm like, wait, actually, my skin is my biggest strength because that has got me where I am today. So it's very important to realize that everyone is different, everyone is special, and you just need to be proud that you look or are a certain way because you were chosen to be that way.
Perfect. Absolutely right. I really love both the answers, and the energy out there is really positive. I love it. I hope
Yeah.
this session has turned out to be really informative for all our audiences, and I hope both of you all enjoyed this too. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. It's really nice that you guys are doing this. And it's really important that people see the efforts you're putting in. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But
The
thank you. Thank you, everyone. Yeah.
both of your stories are very inspirational, and I hope audience took away something out of it. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having
Thank you.
us.
Catch you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye bye. Take care.
Take care, and
Bye.
thank you, Mr. Sai, especially since, like,
Yeah.
he's down with few symptoms of cold, and still he came to
Arrange
for
for
this. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much
Tony.
for your time.
Thank
Take care.
you. Bye bye.
Bye.
You too. Thank you. Bye bye.